Welcome back, friends. Before the new banner for Summer Moko comes out, or Seaside Tomoko, or what the hell you want to call her, before it comes out on Thursday, I want to drop a quicker video that is here to answer the question of should you pull Seaside Tomoko. Now, I'm going to cover this from a couple different perspectives. One, I'm going to tell you where she does or does not fit into the meta. Two, I want to tell you kind of outside of the generic meta, where can she be used? And then three, I want to tell you if you don't pull her, what are some replacements you can do for her? So let's go through those three parts. Do me a favor, like and sub. We're still trying to hit that 10K. We've got to slow down a little bit, so I need your help. Help me get to that 10K subscriber threshold. It really does make a difference for me. So let's just dive right into it. First, I want to give you a super high level overview of her kit, and I'll throw some images on the screen and some video so that way you're not bored just looking at my face. But let's zoom out and look at what her skills and awareness are. I will do a full guide of her later on. So first of all, awareness, gorgeous fireworks. This is really where it's at. This is her base kit. And basically through her powers, she is going to put a spark mechanic onto your different enemies. And once that spark mechanic hits a certain amount of stacks, after you attack them and it hits the stacks, she is going to launch them in the air with fireworks. And then it's going to heal your party, do a little bit of damage to the enemy, and it's going to decrease the amount of damage that the enemy puts out for a turn. So it's a really good sustain type ability with an added effect of getting a little bit of kind of chip damage in there. She's not going to be a damage dealer. Don't build her like a damage dealer. So that's her awareness, and that's kind of where part of her sustain comes from. The other thing is within her powers, she's really there to predominantly use her skill 2 and skill 3. You're not really going to use her skill 1. And typically you're going to have other people that want to use their highlight. So you're not going to use those two that often. But with her skill 2, she's bringing a really massive ailment accuracy effect up for whoever you click on. And this is going to be kind of one of her main selling points and what she's kind of unique in her kit and abilities for. So looking at skill 2, basically a heal, and then she's going to increase that character's attack, whoever your main target is, and EHR or ailment accuracy by about 60%, which is pretty huge, and then increase their damage dealt on top of that. I believe one of the changes I saw on the live stream is that they're also going to convert some of the main target's EHR into an additional attack buff as well, up to I think it was maybe 24%. So this is a pretty potent buff / additional heal. And this is a major selling point of her kit. So the thing you have to ask yourself though in this power is who needs that EHR buff? And I'll come to that in just a minute. Then you have Midnight Memory. This is her skill 3. This is going to be an AoE side damaging attack. Again, she's not a damage unit, so it's not going to be as powerful as, say, Haru will be later when she's an actual side damage unit. It's going to inflict stacks of spark on enemies after they're hit with damage for a turn. So by putting this on them, you're going to build up the spark mechanic, and then that's what triggers her follow-up when people are attacking. And then when this is active, she can do up to 5 stacks of that spark. Also, this gives an additional damage taking to the enemy by 19.5%. So basically you just do more and more damage to the opponent. So the combination of these two things is juicing up your character, whoever your main target is, and then it's also making the enemy take more damage. And you couple that with decreasing the damage output of the enemy with the sparks and healing, and you've got a really good sustain / buffing kit here. Sounds really good, right? So why is she even questionable in terms of is she meta? Well, first of all, let's talk about the biggest selling point, which is her EHR, her ailment accuracy up. Who actually takes advantage of that? So there's 2 characters that really potentially care. The first one, and I'll do this one quickly, is Mesa. And Mesa, he has a bleed mechanic, so being able to land bleeds more frequently is, a just net damage increase. So for him, there's a little bit of benefit there. He's also fairly skippable, so it's not a huge kind of selling point in my opinion. And then the real one is going to be Haru or Noir. She wants 150 ailment accuracy in her kit. So to get that, you have one of 2 options. One is you build it in her kit by getting her weapon, having the right weapon on Wonder, having a good set of cards, and one of the cards can have an EHR or ailment accuracy main stat. and you get her to the 150 on her own, works just fine. The other way is you use Summer Moko or Seaside Tomoko, and she gives this really big skill 2 buff. And so this basically covers what you need for her. You'll still need a little bit either with her weapon or just by building out to some extent, but you will have most or a very large chunk of that EHR covered. And what that does is it frees you up on your card slots to do more damage for Haru. So for example, you can get rid of the EHR main stat card and do like a critical damage card. That's actually what I do on KR. So her biggest sell is Haru. Does that make her meta? Does that make her a must pull? Absolutely not. Because first of all, you can get around it. And you can build Haru without her, just really trying to get to that 150. Second of all, that would arguably be 1, maybe 2 teams if you use Mesa, but Mesa himself is not meta. So you're bringing another character to support somebody who's not meta to begin with and only has a couple fights he might shine in. So yes, she's great for Haru, and she frees up quite a bit of what Haru needs in her stats to make her the most effective that she can be. But at no point in time are you stuck with a inability to build Haru for lack of Seaside Tomoko. So the win that you get there is if you are in a guild or SOS that you really want to push scores. Because between now and kind of the current version of the game and other servers, she really is kind of the best in slot with Haru. And I would say that it just makes her easier to build around. And it's not until you get some really creative teams later with like Winvast and things like that and with Toy that you really start thinking about subbing her out. So she does get a lot of life with Haru herself specifically. So if you're a big Haru fan, like I am, you might want to pull her. Or if you're going to be chasing top-end guild battle scores, then I would say she's a pull. So for those reasons, that is when I would say your Shujiro pull is the most strong. Beyond that, let's talk a little bit about where else can she be useful. So first of all, she can be useful in Velvet Trials, particularly ones that need Psy damage. She's got Psy attacks, they're AoE, she has Psy follow-ups, so she's got ways to deal that damage. She's also going to be useful in any train stages that need Psy. So if you're struggling with that sort of content and you're unable with your current tools to get through them without her, then yeah, she's going to be great. I will say I got through all of the Velvet Trials without her. So all my Psy is done, all my Technician, all the Velvet stuff is done for me. And I did it without Summer Closer, without Summer Tomoko, without Haru. For the Psy stuff, I used a combination of predominantly Riddle actually, and occasionally Tomoko, the existing one that we have, who's also Psy. So if you want to make those easier, she will make it easier, but she is not necessary to clear any of that content. You can get through it without her. I've done it. So she's not necessary, but she does help. And then I think one of the biggest places you will use her, and I use her certainly, is in Astrolab. It's another mode that will come out later. And this is what comes out for the rest of the Mindscape. So it's where you get the other resources to do that kind of inner track that we talk about. And in there, because you're limited on how often you can use characters, you may find yourself in multiple different fights where you want sustain. Or you might have a fight that just wants a character like hers, like a Psy character, to get the most points. So having that freedom is a good thing for that mode. I can say that about any character, but for sustainers and buffers in particular, it's nice because then you can use different party compositions. And otherwise, you might be kind of stuck with Lufel and Morgana as your sustain. Not that they're bad, I would just say she's better. So it does free you up there, and I would say that it's basically your Haru team, Astrolab or Globe, whatever the heck they call it, and arguably your Velvet Trials that she gets the most use in. Once you clear the non-permanent content or your permanent content, though, she does diminish a little bit of her value. So if you're going purely meta, I would say that she's only there to help pad your guild scores and make Haru a bit more effective for now. I don't think that's a strong enough case to pull. And then on the other side, if you choose not to pull her, if you said, okay, I heard you, not a strong enough case to get her, I'm going to skip her and save some gems, then what would you do instead of her? Like, what if you pull Haru? Who goes in her slot? Well, first of all, do you need sustain? If you need sustain and you have Minami, toss her in there. She's got good buffs, she can help. If you don't have Minami, do the usual thing. Do you have Morgana? Are you using him? Or are you using Lufel? If you need a healer, you could also use Soy. The only problem with Soy is more single target in orientation, and Haru is AoE, so they kind of clash a little bit on there. So I would probably use someone else. But by all means, pick your sustainer that does the best for you in the situation that you're in. If you don't need sustain, I would easily see putting a Leo in that team. Let him buff up your Haru. You could bring Riddle. Honestly, I think Riddle could be pretty good in that situation. It's another Psy unit, and she can, when she gets going, buff Haru pretty well. So I don't think that she's a lost cause by any means. So you have other options that you can put in there for, directly buffing your units. And then you're probably going to be bringing Cord if you have Cord, or, if not, then just either bring another buffer, bring a debuffer. I mean, I can't tell you what your roster is, but you can sub out the buffing aspects of what she does with someone like a Leo. He is really a great unit. And then let's actually switch gears back a little bit to those who do want to pull her. 2 questions you're probably going to have. 1, should you chase her awarenesses? 2, should you go after a weapon? So on awarenesses, for her awareness 1, decrease all enemies' defense by 15% when they take damage from your follow-up for 3 turns, stacks up to 3 times. Those of you doing the math, that's 45%. It's a pretty potent defense down. Let's actually cover weapon at the same time. And then her 5-star weapon increases healing effect by 22%, so better heals. And she gets a slightly better attack on her follow-up. She's not DPS, so it doesn't really matter that greatly. And then it increases the damage the foes take by basically 17% because you'll get the 2 stacks going with the fireworks. And new to global, not listed here on the sheet, is I believe it decreases the enemy defense by 12% and decreases their ailment resistance, or maybe it increases your ailment accuracy, one or the other. But basically, it allows you to do more damage to the enemy. Sounds good on paper. So I would tell you, if you're trying to pick her up and you're thinking between A1 and weapon, I would skip both. They sound good. They are good. A 45% decrease to defense is good, but you're investing a lot into a character who doesn't have a ton of parties you're going to put her into. So yes, it means that when you run her with Haru, she's going to be far more devastating when you have one or both the A1 and the 5-star weapon, but she's still going to heal plenty. She still has, good buffs up here. And I think that with so many characters to come, if you're not a spender, you're going to need to save gems. And I think that overall, you can save gems on Tomoko regardless. But if you do pull her, you can certainly save gems by not chasing her A1. And you can save gems by not chasing her 5-star. And then you could probably save gems on Mesa unless they super buff him. So this is actually one of our better windows to save. So to recap, to tell you my final opinion in a shorter way, I think she's skippable. Honestly, I think she's skippable. You can build around Haru. You can make Haru super effective without her. Later on, you may even replace her on your Haru teams for other buffers and debuffers anyways. You can also do weird stuff with Haru, like run her on a double DPS team. We're not going to cover that today. But basically, her biggest selling point being Haru means that you don't need her if you can build around her, and you absolutely can build around her. Now, I will be pulling her, again, 1, because I'm trying to get as many characters as I can, and 2, I just like the way it enables Haru, so it's not a bad pickup. I also like using her in Astrolab. So if you want her for those kinds of conveniences, she's a fun one to pick up, and she gives you another sustainer. The other thing I want you to look out for, too, is I keep hearing rumors that there may be a Minami rerun very shortly, maybe even potentially with this banner. It's not confirmed. It's just rumors I've seen some from people. But if you were to have Minami come up side by side to her, if I had to pick between the two, I'd go for Minami. Minami would also be standard banner eventually, so you have that to think about. So there's a little bit of you could still wait it out if you haven't had her this entire time. But I don't know. I think she's good. I don't think she's needed. I think you can build without her. But she does make things slightly more convenient by having her. But I don't think that's strong enough to give you a should you pull absolute guaranteed yes. Those are my opinions. For those of you that know about these characters, feel free to drop yours down below in the comments. And until our next live stream or video, please, my friends, take care of yourselves.